Apparently there was a conference that's happened quite recently. There's conferences going on all the time, of course, and I'm indebted to one of my viewers who alerted me to a particular conference, which you might find fascinating. It's called The Future of Britain. I just want to read a little bit about this that was sent in by my correspondent. Thank you, Mike. It's chaired by somebody called Sir Tony Blair. You may remember him. He was Prime Minister for a while. And I think he, with some sexed up documents, took us into an illegal war, which many people died, of course. And didn't he do something to do with migration, which now we seem to have managed to get, under control? Inasmuch by under control, I mean that we've managed to get more people coming into this country are actually being born, I think, or something like that. There's more people swarming into this country from completely unrelated traditions and customs and other religions than probably is good for us. But he seemed to be the bloke who started all of that. If I remember right, I can't really remember. There's too many EMFs and heavy metals in the air for me to even coherently think these days. But anyway, the future of Britain has started or was taken place. And briefly, says my correspondent, it says it was a gathering of mainly international people, not many Brits, apparently, presumed to be expert specialists in various aspects of state governance. AI, climate change, tech revolution, transforming public and the current state of Britain. Well, it's very nice of these people to feel that they are acting on our behalf to change the state of Britain. So I thought I'd better have a look at this. And let's have a look. Here it is. This is from the something called the Institute. I think it's the Tony Blair Institute, actually. And it says there, the future of Britain. The interesting thing is you can't see this on the screen, but just down the bottom, one of the most irritating things about these websites is what with these cookies things. And you only get the option to say, I'm fine with this. You don't actually get the option to turn the cookies off, which I find a bit awkward. Anyway, it says Britain needs a new plan. Well, I don't disagree with that. I think the current situation that we're in is a bit dodgy, in which we have tyrants and dictators telling us what we should do, heading to net zero, confirming the myth of man-made global warming and pretending that that's actually a thing, pushing digital IDs, getting rid of cash and forcing us ever closer to a central bank digital currency. All of those sort of things, what with the ULEZ and all the biometrics that they're taking at airports and in supermarkets and filming us left, right and centre and allowing immigrants to come in willy-nilly and not actually investing in the people who live here, but investing in all these people who just decide to come over, those men of military age, which come from those countries in which being in the military is part of their well, they have no choice. They have to go through some sort of conscription, whereas we don't. That was abolished in 1963, I gather, in this country. So they're all coming here. So clearly, you're right. Britain does need a change. Let's see what else it says. I mean, so far, Tony, my God, I'm with you there. Blimey. So here we go. Let's have another look. The future of Britain demands a new era of invention and innovation. Yes, I mean, maybe we don't want all this 5G. You're probably right there, but 5G that's going to radiate all these electrical things which are not good for the human psyche, those highly processed foods, you're absolutely right. It's nice, actually, Tony and your cronies, to be on our side for a change, to actually think, golly, we don't want this horrible, overly powered, fast thing where we're relying on convenience left, right and centre and people are listening into our conversations and shutting down conversation, censoring ourselves and all of this, the woke agenda. Clearly, you're right. We need a change, and we need some invention. Free energy would be quite good, wouldn't it? And innovation. We don't need to be held under the yoke of the power giants who are charging us a fortune and making a huge profit themselves. Clearly, you're quite right, Tony. I'm so thrilled to have discovered you, that you've changed your tune at last. How marvellous is that? It says, yet the state is no longer fit for purpose. You're not wrong there. The status quo, it says here, is unsustainable. Sounds grand. Although then we see this massive, great big grid with this young fella looking at it, which is, of course, those rather dreadful solar panels, which I learn will end up in landfill and start clogging up the places and off-gassing all sorts of things, getting into the water table and ending up giving us more heavy metals. So I'm not quite sure that is really the answer, but a lot of people believe in all of that. And the wind farms, the wind farms which actually need diesel to get them going and to keep them going every time the wind drops. So you wonder whether it's the wind that's actually doing the powering, or perhaps it's just the diesel after all. But, you're quite right. These old systems and these so-called free systems, although it's not really free, these renewable systems, they actually need completely renewing. Completely. We need a different system. We need to stop hiding all these other ideas that people have come up which can generate power from the ether and other places and make that freely available. That's what we need, rather than being under the thumb and charge loads of money. So far I'm kind of with you there, Tony. It sounds good so far. Let's see what else he's going to say. Yes, a new direction. Here we go. Radical yet practical, it says here. Look, a new direction for Britain. That's why we're building a blueprint for a better future. Hang on just a second there. Just a second. Just hold on there a minute, Tony, and your cronies. It's interesting that this is a bunch of elitist type people, lots of people in power. Nobody's actually been voted here. Again, it's that sort of thing, isn't it? Unaccountable, unvoted in people who are making the decisions for us. Shame we're not part of it, because we live here, we work here, we keep the economy going, and there's more of us than there are of you. I mean, no, don't call me old-fashioned, but in a democracy, I mean a real, true, proper democracy, we're part of the equation. We're not those that just get, oh, by the way, you don't worry, you stupid people. We, the clever people over here, have worked it all out. I don't think that's quite how it works, but let's just assume that was a bit of a, bit egotistical, and we'll get on with it and see what else you've got to say here. So these people are building a better future, it says here. And you can click on that. Might open that into another thing to see what they mean. Look at that. Yeah, better future. A new direction to transform the future of Britain. And there's a picture of a greenhouse with wind farms stuck inside. So if you want the whirring of a wind farm, you can have that. Fit for future, a fair deal on food and healthier. This one's eating tomatoes. The woman next to her has probably got a bowl of mealworms. You never know. Future of learning and development, tech equipment. They're mucking about with a telescope by the looks of things. Fit for a future, modern, sustainable NHS. Oh, yeah. All online, all digital. Look, she's looking at her phone, not realising she's being pumped with EMF. I'm not quite sure about that. Rebuilding trust and delivering safe communities. Here we go. We've got police in their jackets, rebuilding communities by having a police force, left, right, and centre. No real people there, just the force of the police, and that's your community, mate. Thanks very much. Rebuilding trust, delivering safer communities. Here we go, looking down on the police again. Safer communities, not people just having fun sitting on swings and sliding round and people peering over the garden fence and having a lovely time. They're not the images that they're portraying there. I mean, maybe this is just corporate stuff, just trying to reassure you by looking down on the top of a policeman's helmet. That might be the thing. What else have we got? Interest rates shock shows that we need a long-term fixed rate mortgage. Yeah. And look, there's poor kids who are stuck outside, not allowed indoors. I don't know what that means. Moving forward, the path to a better post-Brexit relationship. Again, not real people, just corporate people in very weird jobs, building a future for Britain. And look at the future. There's steel and glass all over the blooming place. And not even a British person as such, not traditional. I'm not trying to say, Chinese people can't live here or anything like that. Of course I'm not saying that, or Japanese, whatever it is, but not a traditional English looking person, but just these are obviously just generic pictures picked out of some stock photo thing. So not a lot of thought gone into that to make the inhabitants who've lived here and invested in this country for years and years and years feel comfortably at home with what's being proposed, maybe. So it's interesting, isn't it? I find it a little bit odd, really, to be honest with you, when these so-called clever people think that they can put the blueprint for how we, the people, want to live, and we don't get a look in. We don't get asked whether actually is that how we want to live. Do we not want to live perhaps in more simpler communities where we're able to grow our own food, people speak the same language, people can talk over the garden fence, have nice gardens without too much of this technology radiating around? Perhaps some of us want to have cash and buy stuff from independent stores, family run operations, perhaps go walking in the country, not be hemmed into these 15-minute cities. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm talking out of turn, maybe you do want this Tony Blair type living. Isn't he with the WEF and is pushing all these other things as well? And didn't he want people to be chipped, if I remember rightly, seeing a video in which we can track everyone and know where they're going at any one time? So the question, do you trust these people? We probably don't have any word in it anyway, whether we trust them or not. But I think we should be able to. I think actually if we don't want this, we should be able to turn our backs and say, thanks very much for the idea, but no thank you. I think we'll get together in our village halls, we'll get together in our parklands, we'll get together in our high streets, and the ones that we built with our own hands. You may have helped pay for it, but we paid for it in the thing. You may have facilitated it by writing bits of paper in your big corporations, but actually we, the people of this land who live here and enjoy it and want to put up with all of this, who may not want the 5G and the 15-minute cities and a cashless society in which you get stuck with everything online and nothing back in the real world, maybe we can turn around and say, actually, we want to have a discussion and take in what young people want and what old people want and what rich people want and what poor people want and work it out for ourselves. Maybe we don't need some self-appointing unofficial bureaucrats coming in telling us how we want to run our lives. Maybe we don't want any of that. Maybe actually we want to turn around to them and say, go back to your stupid little islands and live in your isolated worlds and just leave us the heck alone.